big double game week coming. I think these are going to be the best options from Newcastle and Palace. And especially with Newcastle, people just aren't considering the right defenders.
So I think there's a genuine argument there to bench boost in Game Week 32, literally right now, rather than waiting for Game Week 33. But, like, would you do it for your team?
It depends.
Double Game Week 36 is coming. Not enough people are talking about it. People don't know what fixtures we could potentially have. And it actually has the potential to be even bigger and better than Double Game Week 33. So watch this space. These are the players and teams who could double.
I think I'm going to need another wild card.
Hello, and welcome back to the Stick to FPL podcast for Game Week 32. It's been a little while. No time for a Game Week 31 show. Game Week 30 seems long ago at this point, but we are back now. I'm here, FPL Mate Dan, and Sim is here as well. How you doing, mate?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you? I don't have a very exciting intro for us today, but you know, just the regular hellos and goodbyes and
okay. Well,
check us out.
Don't worry about the goodbyes quite yet. We've got a bit of time before that.
Thank you for tuning in. Catch you next week.
Yeah. But yeah, you're doing quite well in the world of FPL at the moment. I've been keeping a small eye on you, and you seem to be coming up the ranks a little bit.
I've put together 2 really solid weeks after a calamitous week before that.
Yeah.
Really wonder where I'd be if I didn't have the calamitous week before that.
Is that right? You wildcarded in Game Week 30?
Yeah.
And I was on 31. So small differences there.
I was kind of forced because of the Haaland issue.
Yeah.
And apologies to everyone who watched the Game Week 30 episode, which, you know, stopped being relevant literally 30 minutes after it came out.
Yeah, because we spoke about Haaland a lot in that episode, didn't we? But that's the game of FPL. It moves very, very fast. And if you want to keep up with the fast-moving pace of the world of FPL, then you better make sure you're on Fantasy Football Hub to stay up to date with all of your fantasy football needs, all of their fantastic tools, including fixture stuff, which is so handy at this time of the season. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we've got double Game Week 36 is very likely to be coming up, and a blank Game Week 37. And a lot of the planning tools on Fantasy Football Hub have already taken that into consideration. So they are well ahead of the game there. A lot of people not even thinking that far ahead. But if you do want to, then definitely check out Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description or on the link tree. But it's the double Game Week 32. We've been waiting for this one. It's been a while since we've had a little cheeky double game week, and I'm ready for one. I want one. I want more action in the FPL world. I want more swings. I want big, exciting stuff to happen. Huge scores.
I feel like it's been an exciting couple of weeks, but this is like what we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
It's finally all the planning, all the chip strategizing, all the computing.
Yep.
It's arrived.
Yeah, for the next 2 weeks, Game Week 32, Game Week 33, this is what we have all been waiting for. And Game Week 34 as well, which is going to be a blank game week. But Game Week 32 is the warm-up for the slightly bigger Game Week 33. And we do see Newcastle and Crystal Palace with the big double game weeks. Newcastle against Manchester United and Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace against Man City and Newcastle. Both of Newcastle's fixtures are at home, and both Crystal Palace's fixtures are away. And we have here a list of the Game Week 32 fixtures ordered by difficulty according to the Fantasy Football Hub fixture ticker tool. And what's super interesting here is we see Newcastle at the top of this ticker, but we see Brighton and Chelsea against Leicester and Ipswich respectively above Crystal Palace for their double. Does that double game week against Man City and Newcastle concern you at all? It's not an easy one.
Crystal Palace are giant slayers.
Yeah.
I feel like at any point over the last 10 game weeks, when anyone's taken a punt on their manager for a manager league table bonus score, they've somehow always picked up crazy points. I picked up like 20 points off him. I'm sure you picked up points at some point. Actually, no, you didn't, did
nope.
you? You didn't trust in the old Glasner.
No.
But I just feel like it's not a game that I would be concerned about Crystal Palace scoring goals. What was probably more concerning was their fixture against Southampton, which I don't really know what happened. I didn't get the opportunity to see that. But for me, like, they're in great form.
Generally.
Yeah. Man City aren't. Newcastle are probably a lot better at the moment, but still, I don't know. I feel like for me that's still good fixtures to attack from a, attacker's perspective at the very least.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely with Crystal Palace, like they are a team in form. I think certainly, and I think it was the same situations last season. When you just look at the second half of the season for Crystal Palace, both last year and this year, they're like a Champions League level team. Like they're doing just as well as all the other teams in that kind of area: Forest, Newcastle, Aston Villa, Chelsea, even Man City. Really producing very, very similar amounts of wins and goals and even clean sheets as well. So I think people look at Crystal Palace, they look at their position in the table, and they think, "Hang on a minute, this is a bottom half table playing against two Champions League hopefuls," and they think, "Yeah, this is definitely going to go wrong." But Crystal Palace have proven over the past couple of months that they are just as capable of putting together a result than any of these other teams. If this was a Forest double game week against Man City and Newcastle, no one would be worrying. And yet, on form, I would say Crystal Palace are better than Forest right now, which is quite something to say, because I was hyping up Forest a lot at the start of the season, but I think Crystal Palace are probably the better side at this present moment, and they're the team with the double game week, which is pretty nice. But before we have a look at Newcastle and Crystal Palace, just a quick word here from today's sponsor.
Have you ever had your FPL team hacked before?
No, I haven't, but I actually know a lot of people who genuinely have. And that's because they don't take their security and privacy too seriously.
No, and when you join Wi-Fi networks anywhere, all of your encrypted data could be going through someone's private server.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is check out NordVPN.
Yes, guys, get yourself a VPN service such as our amazing supporters of the show, NordVPN, because we at the Stick to FPL studios very much value the security of our FPL teams. We don't want to be logging onto public Wi-Fi's and having all sorts of reprobates making silly transfers. Imagine your FPL team is looking great for the game week, but all of a sudden you have the likes of Hacky Harry comes...
Palmer captaincy.
Captain's Palmer.
Oh my
your
God.
Team. You've got 1 point. Doubled to 2 for your captaincy. You're thinking, if only Hacking Harry allowed me to keep Salah captain, I wouldn't be in this mess. And it's all because you didn't get NordVPN. So use your brains, guys. You don't want a guy coming onto your network changing your captain. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth it.
If you don't believe that, check out NordVPN 30-day money-back guarantee. It's essentially free to use for those 30 days. If you don't like what they provide, you can also get 4 months extra for free. And not only can you secure your device, you can secure all of your burner FPL teams that you try to win.
you got 10 teams? Yeah. You got 10 teams on 10 different phones? Fine, you're covered with Nord. It's fine. I know there's a few of you guys here so desperate to win FPL, you make these burner teams. You're covered. Of course, with NordVPN, you can also change your network to wherever in the world. If you're going on holiday, you want to access stuff from the UK that maybe the country you're visiting doesn't have access to, or if you want to unlock libraries of content from other countries around the world from your home country, you can do all that with NordVPN as well. So get your security sorted, get access to new content or your home content when out of the country using NordVPN, using our link in the description. Go check it out now.
Wow, what a great plug. What a great plug. And you know what? Those two people are so handsome as well.
Yeah, the two people who just did the ad just there. Yeah, they really are. Yeah, fair play. Kudos to them. And they did a great job of it too. I'm sure a lot of people will be having a look at NordVPN. But to continue on, let's first have a look at Newcastle and their double. What kind of players would you be having in your team? I mean, we both wildcarded recently. You got your triple up sorted already?
I do.
Me too. But going in fresh for game week 32, which 3 players would be your ideal triple up from the Newcastle boys?
Wilson, Gordon and Hall.
Right. I think that is awful FPL advice, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we could think of some better options here. I would probably say Isak is maybe number one. Maybe put him slightly above Wilson. After that, we've got the likes of Trippier. I'm going to put him in second. Trippier, I really like him as a pick. He's playing genuinely so well. Like, people who, maybe don't watch as much football, or maybe not as much recently of Newcastle, may have missed how well Trippier is actually doing at the moment. Every time Newcastle keep a clean sheet, he is the most likely player to get bonus points because he is so creative. On those free kicks, on those corners as well, you never know when you're going to get a cheeky little assist that way, or maybe even a goal from a free kick as well. It's possible.
Hall, though.
Lewis Hall, I just cannot see myself picking Lewis Hall at this stage of the season, given that he is going to, not play a single game. But, each to their own. If you like the look of Hall, go for it. I'm going to stick with Isak and Trippier. And my third guy is going to be Daniel Byrne.
Damn,
Daniel.
that's crazy.
Why?
Over Livramento?
Yeah.
How come?
Security of minutes, set-piece threat, and I know the data doesn't reflect that Burns' set-piece threat, but really it's been in non-Premier League games where he's been scoring goals. Scored in the League Cup final, scored for England. This is within the last month. So that's goal-scoring form as far as I'm concerned.
That 0.0 goal-scoring threat.
Yeah.
Listen, I hear you. He obviously is. I think that's his third goal of the season. Was it
in
PSG?
all comps?
Was PSG this year?
Do you want me to have a look at what Burns' all comps?
I feel like PSG was this year. Were Newcastle in the Champions League this year?
No.
Or was that last year?
No, they weren't in the Champions League this year. They weren't in any competition.
It must have been last year. It must have been last year when he scored against PSG. What a game that was.
Well, does that count? It's a little far away in the past to count as like current form, but
in that case, he probably only has 3 goals all season then.
He scored against Liverpool, and I believe that is it in terms of domestic games, and he scored for England as well.
Okay, 2 goals all season.
2 goals all season.
So,
but you just mentioned Livramento. How many goals do you think he scored this season?
He hasn't been playing.
He started 23 games this season.
Okay.
How many goals?
0.
How many assists?
1.
Also 0. Oh. So, we can talk about, Burn, not quite enough attacking threat. Livramento is not exactly lighting up flames and fires in the Premier League, certainly this season.
So you're convinced the best 3 options for Newcastle for this double game week are going to be Isak, Trippier, and Burn.
Correct.
Convinced.
I think that these 3 are the guys I would go for. If I was on a wild card right now, I could pick any 3. These would be the 3 I'd be going for sure. Okay.
My only concern there is doubling up in defence against Manchester United and Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Manchester United, maybe.
Why not? They failed to score 2 games in a row now.
Manchester, that's why I said maybe.
Yeah.
It's still Manchester United. They're still reasonable.
Okay.
Right? But Crystal Palace, keeping a clean sheet against them is a little bit trickier.
For sure.
I think gambling double defense might be a little bit too much. For me, the best 3 would be Isak number 1. Really frustrating that Gordon didn't make the matchday squad. I don't know what the prognosis there is, but it's looking extremely unlikely that he's going to make it. So that would make Murphy my number 2.
Yep.
And then Trippier or Livramento my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Trippier if you've got the budget, Livramento if you don't.
Yeah, for sure. It's a budget thing with Trippier. Like, if you can't afford him, the drop off to a Livramento or a Burn is not that much. So if you have the money, you do it. If you don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Barnes is interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the Gordon issue, Barnes is interesting. Because if you wouldn't go for Gordon now, because he's unlikely to start at the very least one of the fixture in the double game week, that means Barnes is going to start one of them.
You say that, but Newcastle don't play now until Sunday. So there is some time there.
For Gordon to recover and start, he didn't even make the squad today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. But it's like a week. It's a full week. If he comes back to training Tuesday, Wednesday, then he could very potentially start.
But he's been out now since before the international. Well, yeah, since during the international break.
But we know he's been doing individual training, so fitness is going to actual bodily fitness is going to be there to a degree. Match fitness, obviously, maybe can be helped in full training if he's back this week. You're probably right. He doesn't start in the first game. But if he can get 30 minutes in the first game, then he's starting in the second game, right?
Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky. But I'm not huge on Murphy. But I think I'd prefer to have an attacker over a second defender, particularly if it's Dan Burn, where I don't believe that he's going to get an attacking return in either that double game.
You never know. Manchester United particularly susceptible to set piece goals conceded.
Even with Harry Maguire in there?
I have not checked the with and without Harry Maguire numbers.
I suspect there's a big change.
Right, fair enough.
I suspect, but no, I mean it's just my thinking on this, right? Burn has never been a particularly high upside option. Livramento, even though I appreciate,
he feels more high upside, right? He feels like he would be more threatening.
I feel like I could get more lucky with that.
Yeah, but that's where I'm not sure I agree. Like, Livramento doesn't take a shot. He barely takes a shot all season. Like Burn, at least you have that potential for a goal. Livramento has that potential for an assist. And in the last few game weeks, in fairness, he has put up some creative numbers, which is why we see his numbers a little bit higher. But throughout the season, let's have a look at his
Livramento last season
assists.
was good.
1.3 expected assists in 23 starts.
I feel like Livramento last season was good from an attacking threat perspective. This season, I feel like it's unfair to consider because of how little he's played. I know you're saying he's been involved in 23 matches or whatnot.
Yeah.
But
started the 23 matches. He's been involved in, I think, every game this season for Newcastle, bar one.
I don't know. For me, Burn is like a solid option if you're looking to pick up a 6-pointer.
Yeah, it's super safe. It's super secure.
I think that's what it is.
You don't have to worry about Target and Craft looming. in the reserves.
Yeah, it's the safe option. I think to pick it for the upside over a Trippier or a Livramento for me is like I don't know if it's there.
It feels a bit more negative as a pick.
Exactly.
Okay, I definitely get what you mean there.
Yeah.
I definitely understand what you mean. Let's talk a little bit about Gordon before we move on to Crystal Palace. Obviously, not Gordon. Sorry, it's Murphy, because everything I'm seeing over social media is that Murphy is the second coming of Christ. Now, we are recording this video before the Leicester game, so this has the potential to age horrifically.
Exactly, he may actually be that.
He could go nuts. He could go crazy with it. But this is a guy, particularly when Gordon is back, who is going to have reduced minutes. We are going to see 65 minutes from him rather than the 90 that we've maybe seen a few times recently. He is a player who has scored goals this season and assisted, but the data doesn't really support his output. So from a data perspective, his output has been a lot higher than perhaps what you would expect. And generally, it doesn't excite me that much. He's far more creative than he is, a kind of a shooter, if that makes any sense. The one goal he scored recently against, I think, Forest was like a tap-in. That doesn't come around very often. I get that for 5.1 million and for a placeholder, he maybe fits the job perfectly. But I don't think going double defense is really that much worse than going double attack if you do want to just try something slightly different.
I hear you. I think the reason why I am going Murphy over double attack, I'm completely there with you in that I don't think Murphy is just like super great option, right? I'm completely there with you. It's so strange that a team as good as Newcastle only have one, possibly two, if he's fit, great options in being Gordon.
Yeah, I don't even know if Gordon's been great as an FPL option this season in terms of those attackers.
The last few months he definitely hasn't, but earlier on maybe he was. But either way, it's so bizarre to have a team like that who are in such great form as well. My issue is let's presume, for me, I would put his expected minutes at around about 140, 150, about 70, 80 minutes each game.
Okay, sure.
That's where I would put it. I think over that period, the likelihood of him getting 1, maybe 2 attacking returns is higher than the likelihood of a defender getting 2 clean sheets, which would be relatively similar in points.
Yeah, similar, given that Murphy, if he is getting attacking returns, is more likely to be an assist than a goal. Far more likely.
So you're looking at 5, maybe 6 points if he picks up a bonus from 1 assist, for example.
But which I think, by the way, is pretty unlikely. He's not typically done super well from bonus this season. He has 5 bonus points all season. He's played, most games.
Obviously, I'm balancing out that bonus point with, for example, if it's a goal, it's already 8 or 6 or 7. Sorry,
sure.
On balance, I'm
all of
saying,
the different possibilities, the possible outcomes.
I'm saying
right?
The likelihood of Murphy picking up a 12-pointer in the double game week for me is higher than a 12-pointer from one of the defenders, and you already have one of those defenders in case it does happen.
Okay, sure.
So I think those fixtures are tricky to get clean sheets in. So I wouldn't be stunned if the defenders picked up 4 points out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I would still favor Murphy. Also, if the defense, for example, Burn goes well, not great, you're picking up 12 points. If it goes great, you're probably picking up 18, 21.
Okay.
But that great is quite unlikely. You're talking 2 clean sheets, a goal, 3 bonus. Very unlikely in my books. If Murphy picks up 2 goals across both games, you're talking 16 to 20 points, depending on bonus.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, is more likely. So for both upside and downside, for me, I would pick an attacker.
Fair enough. Yep. No, that's totally valid. I think maybe structural things could be maybe a counter argument to that, but that's going to be so team specific that there's no point going into it. Everyone's going to be slightly different.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace?
Let's talk cry.
Cry. It's time to cry if you haven't got any cry players.
Yeah.
You need
it's not looking good, breath.
No. Nketiah out, suspended. That's good for Mateta's minutes. Mark Gahey out, suspended for the first game anyway. That is bad for clean sheet potential. Not that Crystal Palace had a huge amount of clean sheet potential in this one anyway. I think we'll all agree that with Crystal Palace, it's double attack rather than double defense, and maybe even triple attack.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe even triple attack in this one, because Newcastle, Man City, these 2 fixtures, we're not really expecting a clean sheet here. And if you are going for a defender, it's kind of Munoz or no one. Like Lacroix, Henderson, you really have to manage your expectations with these bad boys. Munoz, you never know when you're going to get a crazy random goal, as we saw in Gameweek 30.
Did you bench that?
I benched it, yeah.
Oh, I thought you did.
Yeah, and you know why? I benched it because I wildcarded in Gameweek 31, and this is going to sound stupid. My team was too good. My team was too good so that I didn't have to play it. I knew Brighton would score against Crystal Palace. Yeah. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought the likeliness of... So I have double Arsenal defence, double Newcastle defence. I thought the likeliness of the clean sheets for those teams greatly outweighed the chances of the clean sheet and goal potential of Munoz in that game. But it is what it is. But I'm playing a slightly riskier game going for double defences here. So we'll see what happens with Trippier and Burn this evening. But I mean, Munoz has set the bar pretty high with an 8 points.
To be fair, it's essentially just a clean sheet and a bit of bonus. If he kept a clean sheet, it would have been ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The people who have really gained points in Game Week 30 have been the people who have Gabriel injured and sat on their bench.
Or Timber
injured and sat on their bench, yeah. And people who have single Newcastle defence and double Newcastle attack, because those people played both Gvardiol and Munoz. If you replace Gabriel with another Arsenal defender, you would have played them ahead of Munoz and Gvardiol for the most part. So, I think it just goes to show, when you get a big injury, that people are wildcarded last week, can't believe Gabriel's injured, my season's over, the things are ruined, and they end up playing a Gvardiol or a Munoz instead this week, and you're up.
Yeah,
FPL works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, it's the team talks is very, very interesting, because I feel like all the wildcard teams are very similar. But chips have kind of landed very, very subtly different and had huge differences. Like a wild card in 30 and 31 looked the same in terms of who you picked.
Very similar, yeah. Incredibly similar.
But a 30 wild card could have massively jumped you. Even a 31 wild card could have massively jumped you, depending on, did you still keep Rodgers or did you go Eze instead of Sarr?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like it was very fine margins. But let's talk about these Crystal Palace options.
Let's save that. So okay, we agree. If you're going for a defender, it's Munoz.
Yes,
or would pretty much ignore everyone else at this point.
Yes,
unless you already have them, in which case obviously you keep them. Then we get to the midfielders, Sarr versus Eze. Now, obviously, Eze has been in better form. Last couple of games has actually threatened more than Sarr. But having seen Eze's 2 assists in Gameweek 31, kind of a sideways pass to Mateta to score a wonder goal, sideways pass to Munoz to score with a big deflection. It's a case of balancing between, is it sustainable? And if you're passing to players that shoot, then you're always going to have a chance of an assist.
Yeah. Is it just because he's so involved?
Yeah. Is it because he is just the guy who the ball pings off? If the next player happens to take a big shot and it goes in by some miracle, then you get assist points. You get FPL points. And that's what the game is, right? So data actually does not favour Eze at all. It favours Sarr. Maybe Sarr has been pretty quiet the last couple of weeks, but over the slightly larger kind of set of data, it does favour Sarr. But Eze is the guy involved. He's the player the ball pings off, and you're going to get assists like that. And Eze's he takes the odd long shot as well. Again, low XG chances, but sometimes it will find the back of the net. So if he's getting higher quantities of low XG passes and low XG shots, some of them will come off. And I think that's what we've kind of seen in the last few weeks, which is why he's been outscoring Sarr, who's pretty much done nothing. There is a price difference there. Is there a case for Sarr over Eze?
It's such a complicated question. I mean, if you're buying now between Sarr and Eze,
yeah,
my biggest consideration would be, do I need that money?
Okay, yeah, sure.
I think that would be my bet. There isn't something stand out to me between the two options. Sarr has his benefits. His data's good. He's a threat, but he seems to put up these big data games in blank.
Yeah, he does either everything or nothing.
Eze, on the other hand, is a talisman of his team. He's on penalties.
More consistent, more reliable, perhaps? I don't think it's verified he's on penalties, by the way. It could just as easily be Mateta.
Actually, no. Yeah, no, you're right. For some reason, I thought he was on penalties there.
I think they have like a penalty share or something was the last quote, but that was a while ago.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem to put up good FPL points. I mean, more recently, there's been a bit of an uptick. But if you take that over the last 6 months, it's been horrid.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't scored a goal since Gameweek 19, Eze.
Yeah.
Which is quite some time.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, even before Gameweek 19, didn't he blank for like months before he started returning?
He scored twice this season.
He scored twice this season?
He scored twice this season, yeah.
There you go.
It's not particularly good. And even the assists, it's 8 assists, which is not like anything crazy, right?
2 of them came last week as well.
Yeah, great point. And on the other hand, we see Sarr at his cheaper price, 7 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah,
and that's despite not really starting at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
Eze obviously has had his injury issues as well, but on balance, they've probably played similar minutes. I would say it's so tough. Sarr is so hot and cold, so hot and cold. I just fear that. We've jumped on Sarr after a hot streak and then he's just gone and done nothing. I feel like that's happened again. I feel like we've been pulled back into the Sarr trap.
Yeah. Well, the lucky thing is, I believe almost everyone listening has already picked.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
So you've made your bed. Don't change it. Lie in it.
All right. So, okay, in that case, we obviously...
I'm going to press you. Who are the best 3 options?
I think at this point,
have to come to a decision.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's maybe triple attack. If you're going forward from this point, you want Crystal Palace players, you go 3 attack. You go Eze, Sarr, and you go Mateta, the big man up front. Mateta, by the way, is the clear best pick of the 3. And a potential captain option in Game Week 32 as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to go Mateta number 1, Eze number 2 based on current form, and Sarr, the all-or-nothing man, number 3, who's going to sneak in just ahead of Daniel Munoz, who, despite low clean sheet possibilities, can get you the odd goal or an assist as well. What do you think?
I completely agree with you with your picks. Mateta number 1, Sarr number 2 for me, and Eze number 3.
And is that a budget thing?
Budget thing.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think it is such a fine margin between Sarr and Eze that it might just have to be based on what you can afford, what you can do with the money elsewhere, kind of thing.
I had that same choice in Game Week 30, but I wanted to buy Saka in Game Week 33. So
you needed to get Sarr to kind of fund that kind of move. Makes sense to me.
Let's take a quick gander at Game Week 33. We've had the fixtures announced. So for the benefit of the audio listeners, Arsenal double game weeking, playing Ipswich away and Crystal Palace at home. Man City playing Everton away, Villa at home. Villa playing Newcastle at home, Man City away. And Crystal Palace with the back-to-back double game weeks. Bournemouth at home, Arsenal away. Very, very tasty.
Yeah, interesting. Again, I think Arsenal and Man City are the standouts in terms of the fixtures there. Arsenal, you would say that these are 2 games with good clean sheet possibilities. And I've kind of mentioned Crystal Palace are more than capable of scoring a goal, but Arsenal are more than capable of keeping a clean sheet.
I think that's the reality, isn't it?
Yep. And if it wasn't for one of the stupidest penalty decisions I've ever seen in my life,
Bizarre.
we would have another clean sheet for Arsenal to continue on their trend of getting a clean sheet every other week. And by the way, it's odd-numbered game weeks where Arsenal keep their clean sheets.
So we're expecting 2 clean sheets in 33.
Hey, they're both within an odd-numbered game week. And if it wasn't for a stupid refereeing decision ruining the pattern, it would still be going to this day.
And if it doesn't happen, you got Daniel to blame.
You have got me entirely to blame. But no, look, we're looking at 1 clean sheet minimum in this. You would be disappointed without a single clean sheet for this. So
that game week feels like a huge defender score is sat in it.
Yeah,
it's just 2 clean sheets and a header from one of the defenders.
Yep,
and you're looking at stupid points.
And Saliba, by the way, on for bonus points before the clean sheet wipeout. He was doing brilliantly for bonus points, and we know he's a bonus points guy. And if Arsenal continue to only score 1 goal per game, which seems pretty consistent, then it is going to be defenders in bonus points with those 1-0 victories. We've also seen time and time again, whenever Gabriel is out, that Saliba becomes slightly more threatening in attack. In fact, the only 2 goals that Saliba has scored this season have been the 2 games in which Gabriel has not played, which is no coincidence. So
he didn't play last week.
Yeah, okay, excluding
he didn't play last week.
But like he almost came away. He should have come away with a haul in that game as well with the bonus points.
Yeah,
that he should have got with his clean sheet. That he should have got. That I'm not at all salty about this at all with my double Arsenal defence. Whilst all of you Gabriel owners sit Gabriel on your bench picking up your Gavardio points and your Munoz points, where I'm sitting with a non-existent Saliba clean sheet and bonus points, which I should have, but I don't. I think I ran over on that one, but
I'm glad you've taken it well.
Don't take anything well in FPL, Sim. Everything's personal and everything cuts deep. I can't lie.
Well, you know what? I'm happy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you are. But Saliba, yeah, certainly still a good pick for a Gabriel replacement, particularly as I think with these Arsenal defenders, it's very, very tough to say who is going to be starting centre-back alongside Saliba. Ben White's back now. Timber can play there. Big mentions of Kivior recently, but I don't think he is particularly nailed. Particularly with the 2 Champions League games. You don't know what the rotations are going to be like there. And the one consistent guy has been Saliba. So I don't think I could go into Game Week 33 with too much confidence in a player like Kivior or Ben White, really. I mean, maybe Timber, because he can play multiple positions and has been playing.
Just got
right
benched
back
as well, though.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign. We thought, how fit is he? How available is he? If he gets benched in the Champions League as well, then... He
won't get benched in Champions League.
No,
probably he got benched for the Champions League.
Yeah, okay. But if he plays 60 in the Champions League or something like that, then it probably looks pretty good for his minutes in Game Week 33. We don't know. It's still a little while away, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think with Ben White actually touching grass now, it's just the Timber thing is slightly uncomfortable.
Okay, that's fair
Yeah.
enough. So it's like Raya and Saliba at that point are the only...
Are probably the best. Yeah.
Because Lewis Skelly is not even listed as a defender in FPL.
Oh, is he
Listed
not?
as a midfielder. If he was a defender, I think people would be talking about him as well, but can't be done.
Didn't he get benched as well last game week?
No, he got subbed.
Did he start?
Yeah, he was the guy who gave away the penalty. Well, the not penalty, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, he's starting every game at the moment. Last month or so.
Yeah. He's not having a great season, is he? Red cards.
Are you joking?
And penalty give. Oh, way to trigger an Arsenal fan. I'm sorry, I was messing with you.
God.
I was messing with you.
You know, for England, only Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen are younger goal scorers for the England team.
Wow. Against Albania.
So I would just say that Lewis Skelly is the third best young player of all time for England.
Against Albania.
Listen, you can only beat what's in front of you. And man, did he beat what was in front of him. Champ, absolute champ. He's going far, that boy. He's going far. And hopefully he's a left back in FPL, well, a defender in FPL next season.
God forbid you had Barcelona's academy. Oh my God. You guys would be insufferable.
Don't need it. Do not need it. Nwaneri.
Imagine
Skelly,
you actually had world-class talent coming out of it.
Nwaneri. To be fair, though, I think like the Nwaneri versus Yamal conversation is, you know, like it's close.
It's a bit forced.
It's close.
Close.
Yeah. We'll have a look again in a year and we'll see who we think is the better winger.
What, after Yamal has a treble Euro title and a possible second place in the Ballon d'Or?
Listen, we'll see. We'll see.
Fair enough.
But, you know, if you think Nwaneri is really going to get the treble, you're talking about Nwaneri. I just don't want to get too ahead of myself there with that one, but like, you said it, not me. But yeah, sorry, going back on FPL topic, it's a double Arsenal defence kind of game week. And like people will talk about, oh, what about Marino? He seems to be the main guy people are talking about. We saw last week playing back in centre defensive midfield, where he belongs, quite frankly.
He's been smashing it.
He's been smashing it. Look at the goals he scored. The most scrappy Arsenal goals in the world. Like, Arsenal are scoring 1 goal max per game.
If he scores it, like, who cares, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And if you've got those points from him recently, you take them, you run with them, you run to the bank with them.
Who do you think's going to play up front for you guys in the Champions League?
In the Champions League, possibly go back to Marino. Possibly go back to Marino. But then we go to the Premier League, and I think maybe things change a little bit, and then we might see Trossard or Martinelli playing as the striker. Yeah. And I'm not convinced that Marino is going to be... His minutes aren't as in question necessarily.
It's the position.
It's the position.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's a good chance that he does only play 1 game in the double game week, but it's his position I'll be worried about. If he, unless he plays 2 games as striker, he's probably not worth buying. And I don't think that's super likely to happen.
Yeah. All right. I think analysing some of these Arsenal picks is going to be very interesting. I think it's much better place to do it after Champions League and Gameweek 32.
Sure.
So we'll cover this in quite a lot more depth next week, I'm sure.
Yep.
Quick fly through Man City, Villa and Palace. We already know who we want in Palace. But in terms of Man City, Marmoush, obviously the outstanding option.
For sure.
Gvardiol?
Yeah, playing at centre-back recently, which has limited his attacking threat a bit, but we saw him with the bonus points in Gameweek 31, so more than capable of picking up some points there. Everton is a good opportunity for a clean sheet, and to be honest, Man City have improved defensively. We say this every week. Man City look improved defensively. I think people need to start believing it at this point, because they really, you know, they are just one of the top teams defensively again. Back to reality, back to normal.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a chance for a clean sheet against anyone. Aston Villa at home, I think, is included in that as well. So one Man City defender is probably essential, and I'm not really sure where else you go outside of Gvardiol.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Edison.
Yeah. I mean, defensively, I think one is probably plenty.
Yeah.
I know you're probably slightly more optimistic than me in terms of defense. I think for me, Gvardiol is enough exposure there.
Yeah, it's not so much that I'm optimistic about their defense. It's more that I am more optimistic about their attack, I would say.
Got you. Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I would double up on the Man City defense, but I think you've got to have some cover there. And I don't think there's enough options to go triple attack, which is the next problem. So Marmoush, Gvardiol, I think everyone agrees with those two, right?
Yeah, but then what?
Have you got a third for me? I mean, Foden is not the guy anymore.
Foden, I have been saying, is awful all season, and finally people are starting to believe it.
Yeah, you called this early, to be fair.
It's only been 32 weeks.
Yeah.
De Bruyne has been knackered at the moment. I don't know. It's just too much budget to go into it anyway.
Okay, here's a question then. If you have Foden, do you sell him at this point? Have we got to that stage? Do we give him one more week in 32?
If you don't have Saka, I'd switch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Foden maybe this game week 32.
32, I'll just keep it.
Against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. You bench him this week because you don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. I think if the last couple of games' performances are anything to go by, he's probably back on the bench. With the likes of Savinho and Doku coming back in those wing positions.
Yeah.
I mean, is even De Bruyne ahead of him at the moment? I thought he looked a bit brighter than Foden. Foden obviously subbed off earlier than De Bruyne.
Yeah. It's a bit of a minefield. I mean, I suspect that Savinho may be the best option.
Yeah.
And even he's awful.
Awful's harsh, man. He looks good when you watch him play football, right?
I don't mean awful at football. I mean, he's an awful FPL option.
Right, okay.
And I'm probably saying that more aggressively because he's in my team. But, he has been one of the better FPL options. But because of the fact that he's just been completely rotated and didn't get any minutes, there's a concern there.
Yeah, but, I think the opposite should be true, that you should be positive. This is a guy who's played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Premier League games in a row. He's rested for one game. That is, to me, the perfect sign that he is going to go on and play.
So this is sort of the point I was trying to get at.
Cool.
I think he was benched completely tactically because of the whole Amorim wing-back wide system that Pep was like, I'm not going to play wide at all. I'm going to play very centrally. So I think because of that possibility, Savinho's probably the better option out of the lot in terms of midfielders. But outside of that, I wish Haaland was available and we could have Haaland and Marmoush.
That would be great.
Yeah, but alas.
Yeah, okay. So Savinho, third best Man City option by proxy.
Yeah.
Cool. We spoke about Crystal Palace a lot, so let's do a quick Aston Villa top 3. What you got for me?
Rodgers number 1. Watkins number 2.
Is he?
And then Rashford.
No defenders, no Konsa. Again, another player who's just got his well-deserved rest, which signifies good minutes in the future.
Okay, so this is my problem with Villa.
Yeah.
My problem with Villa is no one outside of Rodgers is good enough to have over all the other picks. So you're not going to have a Watkins over a Mateta or a Isak or a Marmoush.
Yeah.
Or I don't know who the fourth good or I don't know who else is a good.
There is no
option.
other double game week forward out of other than those 4 players that you just mentioned there, by the way.
Okay, then. So probably Watkins is the only other consideration, but you're worried about minutes there and stuff.
Yeah.
In midfield, Rashford, there's a plethora of midfielders to be picking from outside of Rashford if you've already got Rodgers as well. So then you're starting to look at defenders, and in isolation, the defenders are the worst picks from Aston Villa.
They are.
So you're looking at
But you've got empty slots in your defence, you end up picking an Aston Villa defender.
So it then becomes constants and deeds.
Yeah.
So it's, Villa's not great.
I don't know. We could get some surprises, but I certainly prefer the attackers to defenders. I've seen people going like double Aston Villa defence just to get more double game week players. And it's like a Martinez and Konsa combo. What are you expecting against Newcastle and Man City? That screams 4 points for Konsa, 5 points for Martinez.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
So genuinely some of the single game week options might be better. People are going to have, like, you know, if you're on a bench boost, people are going to have Newcastle defenders on their bench.
Yeah.
For game week 33, and they might be thinking, should I move to an Aston Villa defender? For the sake of using up a transfer, is it worth it? Yes, Newcastle face Villa. Yes, the chance of a clean sheet is pretty low, but you could be looking at the difference of like a 2-pointer versus a 3 or 4-pointer from Consa.
Yeah.
For a transfer, that's not worth it.
I mean, if of the 6 options you have in defense, 2 of those are going to be Arsenal. One of them is going to be Gvardiol. One of them is likely going to be Munoz.
Yeah.
So you got
spaces to fill and not much space to fill them, right?
Yeah, 2 slots left. I mean, I'd probably just keep one of whoever you've got, just single game week hit.
Okay.
And then maybe one Villa option as well. But
okay, sure. So with that in mind, is it worth talking about bench boost 32 instead of bench boost 33?
That's such an interesting question, right? Because just a quick reminder of the fixtures in 32. Someone like a Villa, who a lot of people may have in their team, are playing at Southampton.
Is there a better chance of a Villa clean sheet against Southampton than perhaps against Newcastle and Man City in Game Week 33? Maybe. Genuinely, maybe. You could do something there. Obviously, you get less chances for clean sheets. The ceiling is lower, but I think, yeah, it's a good fixture. And then you got like, who's going to be your goalkeeper? Unless it's a double game week goalkeeper for Game Week 33, could your Game Week 32 goalkeeper be just as good? If you've got Verbruggen as your backup goalkeeper against Leicester, if you've got Martinez even against Southampton, if you've got an Alisson in your squad or a Sells in your squad against Everton, these are all good opportunities for Game Week 32 bench boost.
Yeah, it's definitely one to consider. I think you kind of made the decision when you wildcarded,
perhaps.
But even if you haven't, I think have a good look at your bench this week.
Yeah.
Have a good look at it, because there's going to be a lot of benching headaches, and you can just solve it with the bench boost and save yourself having to force transfers in 33.
Yep. And I know people they're crazy about double game week bench boosts, but now that the Game Week 32, Game Week 33 has kind of shrunk as a double game week, it has become like a smaller and smaller double game week as time's gone by. It kind of has meant that, your bench in Game Week 33 is 90% going to be single game week players anyway. Other than maybe one, or the best case scenario is for most people is going to be 2 double game week players on the bench. And that really is the best case scenario. So Game Week 32 bench boost is so on for a lot of people. And I just think, don't ignore it. If it looks on for you, if your bench looks strong, if you've just wildcarded recently, your bench is going to look strong pretty much every week because you've built a wildcard team to bench boost at some point. It could be that the Game Week 32 yields more points for you than Game Week 33. So that's all I'll say on that one. Have a look at it. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, yeah. Shall we move on?
Yeah. I want to talk to you about something.
What do you want to talk to me about?
I want to talk to you about double Game Week 36.
Oh, I thought it was the other thing.
Well, I don't know. What's the other thing?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay, sure. I want to talk to you about double Game Week 36.
I'm going to sit back and listen.
Sit back and listen. Let me educate you. Because this is something that is so far ahead in the future. So few people know that this is even a possibility, but we're going to run you through it right now. So basically, the situation is the FA Cup final takes place on the Saturday of Game Week 36, which means one of 2 things is going to have to happen. Either the FA Cup finalists and their scheduled Game Week 36 opponents will have to play in the midweek of Game Week 37, because they're scheduled to play at the same time, scheduled to play in Game Week 37, or their Game Week 37 fixture, instead of moving to the midweek of Game Week 37, is going to be moved back into Game Week 36, again in the midweek. And we've had some hints that a lot of the teams are kind of preparing for a midweek fixture in Game Week 36. There was an announcement on the West Ham website, for example, that said, if Nottingham Forest make it to the FA Cup final, we are going to have our fixture moved into Game Week 36. So that would create, of course, a blank for West Ham and Nottingham Forest in Game Week 37 and a double for each of these teams in Game Week 36. So if we just roll with that, we think, okay, Game Week 37, FA Cup finalists, they're going to have their fixture moved from Game Week 37 to Game Week 36. That means we're going to have double game weeks in 36. So from there, we can look at what are the chances of the teams reaching the FA Cup final, and therefore, how likely are they to have a double in Game Week 36? So currently, Man City have a 71% chance of beating Nottingham Forest in the semi-finals and having a double in 36. Their opponent in Game Week 37 was meant to be Bournemouth. So that means that both Man City and Bournemouth now have a 71% chance of a double in 36 and a 71% chance of a blank in Game Week 37. Then we move to Aston Villa and Spurs. Aston Villa, 54% chance of beating Crystal Palace in the semi-final, which means that Aston Villa and Spurs, 54% chance of a double game week. So after that, Crystal Palace, on the other hand, 46%, and their opponent Wolves, 46%, Nottingham Forest and West Ham, 29% each. Again, that would require Forest to beat Man City in the semi-final. So what that leaves us
Which of these are linked? So Man City and Forest are linked.
So it's going to be one of Man City and Bournemouth.
Yes.
Or Forest and Wolves.
Okay.
And one of Aston Villa and Spurs or Crystal Palace and Wolves.
You said Wolves twice.
Did I say Wolves twice? Maybe I meant to say West Ham on Nottingham Forest one.
Okay.
It's Crystal Palace and Wolves are tied. But it's about...
Every two in this list are tied. So Man City...
No. It's going to be Man City and Nottingham Forest. Man City or Nottingham Forest and their 37 opponents. And the other side is going to be Crystal Palace or Aston Villa and their 37 opponents.
Okay.
So
okay.
You can maybe work it out with the percentages, like they are like the inverse of each other.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
That helps. Okay. Top two, bottom two, and the middle four. Okay.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. So yeah, it could be really interesting. Like Man City, for example, have a potential double of Southampton and Bournemouth. Now, if you've still got your triple captain, Marmoush, Southampton and Bournemouth, if Haaland's back as well, maybe you look there. If you're, looking at Nottingham Forest players, when to bring them back in, Leicester and West Ham as a double, that's not too bad, really.
Tricky period to manage without a free hit again.
Could be. And I think one big thing for FPL managers to think right now is, I know a lot of people are just like, okay, let's just spend loads and loads and loads of transfers, maximizing Game Week 33, maximize it, make sure we got a most amount of double Game Week players possible. Sell, burn for a concert. Who cares if you only get a 2-point gain from that? It's worth spending a transfer. If this all comes true, it's not.
Transfers out. Yeah.
Those transfers are going to be super valuable because what you need to do is basically what most people will do is they'll get a minimum of 4 double Game Week 36 players, plus they look how many transfers they have.
Top it up
there.
Yeah.
How many players can I afford to transfer in and back out again? Or maybe just out. If you're already loaded up on Man City, for example, and Aston Villa, you maybe already got more than 4 players. How many additional players can I afford to have and be able to transfer them back out in Game Week 37 for free?
Well, I think there's a strong chance, depending on which way it falls, that people even have 6 just sat in their team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have already in my team double Man City, but we'll have triple by Game Week 33. I've got double Aston Villa, so that's 5.
Triple Palace.
I've got triple Palace. Obviously, it can be one or the other. So it's going to be it's either going to be double Aston Villa for me or triple Palace. In fairness, I don't have any in Forest because I decided to bet on Man City beating Forest in the semi-finals. But some people will have like a Nico Williams or a Sells or maybe a Wood as well. So you could well already have players for this double.
Yeah.
And some of these doubles genuinely could be better than Game Week 33.
It's the same number of doubles as well.
It's this exact same number of doubles. Depending on who ends up getting the doubles, they could have better fixtures as well. It's an overlooked possibility for the end of the season that not enough people are talking about. And assistant managers, bench boosts, maybe going to be difficult to plan for that, but certainly triple captains. But I think the biggest point is transfers are so much more valuable right now than you think. And the gains on moving a burn to concert are going to be nowhere near the gains that you can, if you manage to get like a Nottingham Forest defender for a double.
Yeah.
Concert for Game Week 33 is worth nowhere near as much as Nottingham Forest defender if they were to get this double. So use your transfer here in 36 rather than wasting it on 33.
I want a wild card again.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, we don't know. So this is
Yeah.
there's so much mystery here. Even if you wildcarded now, you know...
I want triple Forest defense.
Yeah, but like Forest got to beat Man City in the FA Cup first.
They'll do it.
They'll do it?
They'll do it.
You hope.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a crazy end to the season if this all comes true, because there still is a chance that the Game Week 37 fixtures move into just the midweek of Game Week 37.
Yeah.
Rather than moving back into Game Week 36.
Rightio. Thank you very much for that, Dan.
You're welcome.
Let's have a quick gander at who the best captain is for Game Week 32.
It's Alexander Isak.
It is not very difficult to work out. He is the outstanding best option by a whole 0.7 because Crystal Palace's Mateta isn't actually that far off. But I think this is going to be one of the most straightforward captaincies we have all season.
Maybe. And I think the one concern is minutes for Isak. If his minutes are managed a little bit, if he does have an underlying issue there, then maybe Mateta's minutes are more secure, particularly with Nketiah now suspended for the first game. And Mateta's been in very good form. I mean, arguably been in better form than Isak in more recent weeks and months, perhaps. So the fixtures are slightly worse for Mateta, but the minutes look better. The form looks better. Could Mateta genuinely be maybe just a way of doing something slightly different? If you're in the chasing pack in your mini league right now, you know the top guy in your mini league's captain in Isak for this week. Could this be an opportunity, or is it just a little bit too far?
If the fixtures were a little bit better.
I know.
If they were a little bit better. 2 home fixtures versus 2 away fixtures, both of which being trickier. Ooh, I don't know. If the fixtures were more balanced, I think I'd do it. But
Fair enough.
for me, they're just not.
Okay. Should we leave that conversation right there then?
Let's move on to differential of the week.
Yeah. Said with less gusto from you this week.
Yeah, finally got your mojo back, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Picking my option as well.
No, I'm a huge fan of Evan Nilsson. I mean, I think we both are, to be fair.
Yeah.
Managed to pick him up for the Game Week 30 scores because we didn't do a Game Week 31 pod, but had I picked him for Game Week 31, then that would be even better.
Well, I would have had the option to re-pick him.
You would have, but
Yes,
would you have?
I definitely would have.
You definitely would have.
And I want those points.
I guess we'll never know. But yeah, Evan Nilsson 8 points for Game Week 30, Sarr 2 points. Yeah, disappointing result against Southampton for the Crystal Palace boys in general.
Crazy.
If you can cast your minds back that far. But it does, the gap that looked to be closing
has now opened.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah, it was so close. A few points out.
Okay.
Go on then. Let's see who is your differential of the week this week round. Who is it?
Mine is a pretty nice and straightforward Kieran Trippier. He's in my FPL team. He's a player I have a lot of faith in. I think he is. I've just been watching him recently, been chatting to some Newcastle fans, and it's like a Trippier resurgence, which is really good to see. I think you've always got that chance of a set piece attacking contribution, be that a goal or more likely an assist. And the bonus points potential is very much there because he is on the ball a lot, making tackles. He's just very involved at the moment for Newcastle. So for that reason, 5.6 million, Kieran Trippier selected by 4.2% of FPL managers against Manchester United and Crystal Palace is my differential of Game Week 32.
Great pick. I've done a little bit of a reverse, jinx.
Right.
Because either this goes wrong for my team or it goes wrong for my differential of the week.
You have Gordon.
I have Gordon.
And you are basically saying either one thing's going to happen.
One of them's got a hole.
Either your differential of the week does well or your actual FPL team does well.
Exactly.
Or they both play one game each, get 1 pointers in the other, and it's a lose-lose situation.
If they both play one game each, they could both score a hat-trick in each game.
Or they could both get 3 pointers each.
I'm the optimist.
Okay, go ahead. I mean, this is your differential of the week, right?
1.3% owned. With Gordon not making the squad today, I suspect there's a chance that Gordon just doesn't show up for Game Week 32. And if he doesn't, then I'll have Barnes in my differential of the week. So here we are.
All right, well, it's a win-win, lose-lose for you.
Exactly.
Let's do my FPL team first because I want to end on a positive note.
I think this is you. Yes, it is.
It's a fat red arrow.
Is it back-to-back?
No. My Game Week 30 was my Game Week 30 was very good because I didn't wildcard. and I had like Evan Ilson, and Burmo, Wisser.
Oh, yeah,
I
nice.
did very well in Game Week 30. So it was a green arrow in Game Week 30, having not wildcarded, but the delayed wildcard was as much of a curse as it was a blessing, because despite having the Gabriel information, it meant that I could bench Munoz and I didn't need to get Gvardiol quite yet, which...
Well, look, I mean, you're on a red arrow now, but you got double defense and a Isak captaincy to go.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Isak captain is definitely something that could go right. I mean, people will be watching this after the Newcastle game, so they'll either be laughing at my red arrow potentially becoming even redder.
It literally cannot get red up.
That is a horrible thing to say, Sim.
But he can't. He'd have to get a red card.
I thought you were saying, no, your red arrow is so bad, so awful, that no one in the history of red arrows has ever got one worse. There is no way someone could get a worse red arrow than what you have right now.
Come on.
I had 20 points in Game Week 30 before...
Oh my God, you're on 20
points before the Newcastle game.
Wow, I've got more than double you right now.
Oh, all right, show off.
It's crazy.
But yeah, double Arsenal defense. Absolutely.
2 of my midfielders didn't show up.
Two of my midfielders didn't even start in Saka and Rashford. And Rashford, by the way, had a really nice 1v1 opportunity to score.
Eesh.
He chipped Sells. Sells managed to scramble back to his line and pick it off the line. Super frustrating. And there was another where selfish Morgan Rogers, in all his great form, had a nice counter-attack. And instead of squaring the ball for Rashford for a tap-in, he decided to shoot directly at the goalkeeper instead. So I feel robbed in many ways this week. Sometimes like a red arrow feels like, oh man, I've properly screwed up with my team. I just picked an awful team. But genuinely, I don't think that way. I do feel like, I've just perhaps been a little unlucky. What I won't say I'm unlucky about is if Murphy destroys me, because I don't have Murphy. So if that's happened by this point and Murphy's destroyed me, that's not bad luck on my part. That is just a game.
Yeah.
I decided to go against Murphy. So I fully deserve it if he punishes me. But the rest of the team, Mateta is the only return before Newcastle.
It's a bit ugly, yeah.
It's pretty ugly. Munoz on the bench. Haven't bought Gvardiol yet. He's coming in 33. But let's look at my 32 team anyway. Which is going to be no transfers, no bench boost. We're going to have Raya in goal against Brentford, but only single Arsenal defence this week. It's an even-numbered game week, which I don't have as much faith in Arsenal in these even-numbered game weeks. But you know what? Definitely Saliba could keep a clean sheet, but he's going to be on the bench. Munoz in defence for his double game week, as well as Burn and Trippier. So triple defenders with the double game weeks there. In midfield, we've got Rashford against Southampton. Hopefully he's going to get some game time. I mean, if he gets anything like the chances he's got in the last few games,
he's been smashing it. It's so unfortunate. And he's even been starting up front over Watkins sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got awful news for you, mate.
What?
Jacob Murphy's already scored.
Has he actually?
He's genuinely scored in 2 minutes.
You're joking.
I'm deadly serious.
What?
Deadly serious.
He doesn't really score.
It's been 2 minutes and he scored.
Oh my God. Did Trippier get the assist at least? Livramento got the assist. I can't. That is horrible. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
How has that gone so
Clip
long?
it.
Don't clip it.
It's been 3 minutes.
I go for Burn and Trippier over Livramento and Murphy. Oh my word. What is my luck?
That is so bad.
What is my luck?
That is so
I know people
bad.
would say, oh, yeah, Dan, you just picked the wrong players. Yeah, easy for you to say after that it's happened. What?
That is so bad. It's been
That's Livramento's first return of the season. First attacking return of the season.
Genuinely is.
And it's Murphy's first goal in about 3 months. What the hell?
There's 87 minutes to go.
Oh,
There's plenty of time.
can we just end the podcast now?
We can. We can.
All right, let's just run through my team. I have Rashford, Salah, Sarr, Saka in midfield, Isak, Mateta, Marmoush up front. I'm captaining Isak, but Mateta vice captain, Areola, Savinho, Saliba, and Konza on the bench. And I would like very much to end not just this podcast, but perhaps the podcast permanently.
Well,
and delete my FPL account.
that is probably the funniest thing that happened on this show.
Oh my God.
I'm on a pretty reasonably shaped green arrow. Just had a Livramento return, so looks pretty good. I've actually had a pretty much of a stinker in terms of the players I've picked because Savinho didn't show up, Gordon hasn't showed up, But, sometimes you get lucky in FPL, and I had Rodgers on my bench, so...
You're joking.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I had Rodgers come on. I did bench Timber, having umming and ahhing about whether or not I should play him or Gvardiol. I did play Gvardiol. I also did have Daniel Munoz. But I did captain Salah, so I think there's a pretty strong chance of Isak getting some return, so I think he'll be all right.
Who's going to need to score like a hat-trick for me to beat you now?
Oh, you're probably not going to beat me this week. But
No, probably not.
But, there's still plenty of time left.
Yeah.
There's still a double game week to go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think you'll be just fine. My not bench boost team, my normal team is going to be very similar to yours in that I've got Munoz, Gvardiol, Raya, and Livramento, then Salah. I'm just going to keep Gordon and hope for the best. If it doesn't work out, at least Barnes will do something.
Mm-hmm.
My trusty boy Rodgers, who I have never doubted. Though I've not owned him for only 1 week this whole season.
That's very impressive, Sim. Well done.
And that's pretty much my team, guys. I think that is on the brink here. So I'm gonna wrap up, and I'm gonna remind you all to please subscribe, follow, like, so you can see
Don't
more
bother.
of this.
The show's over.
The show is officially finished.
Yep. It's cancelled next week.
Give it up.
I'm not coming back.
He's not coming
Find another host.
back. Okay. I'll put up a cutout of you.
I mean, to be fair, I have just as much FPL ability, so it works.
Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
And we
Subscribe.
may or may not see you next week.
We will. We'll be back. I could pick myself back up. I've got a week to recover from this awful news.
If Livramento scores, I think.
If Trippier gets an assist to Dan Burn, everything's good again. So I will await that. If that happens, we'll be back. If it doesn't, we'll see.
50-50. 50-50. Take care, guys. See you next week.
Bye-bye.